Okay, hi, welcome. This short video is going to be about how to choose the right yoga class or any kind of movement practice based on your mood. So my name's Francesca. Welcome to my channel if you've never found it before. I am a mental health coach, a writer, a former academic, and I teach a lot of yoga as part of my coaching practice for people who want to improve their everyday mental health. So first of all, what do I mean by mood? So when I talk about mood, I'm thinking about the energetic states that we hold in our body. So the physical somatic sensations we experience in our body and how we give these a language, the language of emotions based on our experience. So for example, maybe you feel like you've got some butterflies in your tummy, you're a bit unsettled, your thoughts are racing, your heart is pumping quite quickly, you're a little bit breathless, maybe you've got sweaty palms, you're a little bit itchy, and you might look at all these sensations in the body and mentally label them as anxiety. You know from experience that this is what anxiety feels like. And maybe you even can go looking and say, oh, I'm feeling anxious because I have a big test coming up next week. And you would recognize your mood as I'm feeling anxious. But it tends to start with those physical sensations in the body. When we think about mood in this way, we're thinking about the working of the ANS, the autonomic nervous system. And I've got another little video about that here on the channel. So the ANS has two main branches, sympathetic and parasympathetic. And I'm just going to briefly go through both of these. Whenever we have a response to a stressor, now a stressor can be as mild as jumping because the water in the shower is too cold, or moderate, like needing to run for the bus because you can see that you're late, or it can be something severe and long term, like work pressures, relationship pressures, a health crisis, or being in an emergency situation. No matter what the stressor is, and no matter the severity of the stress, our body responds in a really predictable way. And this is to activate the sympathetic branch of the nervous system. And this is that feeling that you get if you think about the shower scenario. You get that, oh, you jump, your body feels quite activated and alert. You get that little whoosh that you might recognize as adrenaline, and that's sympathetic activation. So that is the release of adrenaline from the adrenal glands, and then that will be followed about a half second or so later by the release of cortisol, which is our stress hormone that just keeps us activated, keeps us a little bit more mobilized, a little bit more engaged until the stress has passed. So maybe it's running for the bus and you catch the bus, and then once you're on the bus you kind of catch your breath and you calm down and you settle down again, and that's you coming out of your sympathetic state. So when you come out of that sympathetic activation, you come back into the other branch of the ANS, which is the rest and digest branch. And this is the place where your body is reasonably relaxed, you're quite alert, you're responsive to people around you. Your mind is quite calm, you don't have racing thoughts, and you're quite clued in to your environment. Now, we also have another aspect to rest and digest, which is what happens if stress becomes very severe or it goes on for a really long time. So maybe you have been in a workplace stress situation and it's been going on for several months and there's no sign of resolution, and you are constantly experiencing these stressful incidents that kind of get you activated and then you crash, and get you activated and then you come back down again. After a while, you start to experience that crash, which is a little bit more abrupt than that nice return to rest and digest that we might recognize. This is what's called the dorsal branch of your vagal nerve, the 10th cranial nerve, which is involved in your rest and digest systems, coming online and saying this stress has been going on for too long and now we have to go into a protective state. And so it takes us, rather than into that nice, calm, engaged rest and digest, into something a lot flatter. You feel a little bit numbed out, you maybe get brain fog, maybe get some aches and pains, or even just feel quite dissociated from your body. You might lose appetite and have very low mood. And we'd all recognize, I think, the experience of burnout if you've been stressed for a long time and then you start to really not be able to function very well. And that is that dorsal branch of the ANS getting involved in putting us into a kind of protective state. So I like to think of this, and I like to talk to my clients about like a thermometer with red at the top, green down the bottom, blue down the bottom, and green in the middle. So red is when we're up in sympathetic activation. So we're in that hot stage where we've got a lot of adrenaline, a lot of activation, and a lot of energy. And blue down at the bottom is that sluggish, frozen, heavy, overwhelmed state where we've gone into a shutdown. And green in the middle is when we're in our rest and digest. And this is a nice tool that you can use to assess your mood in terms of those energetic states. So when you're coming to look for a video, look for a class to take, you can think about, where am I on this scale? Am I up in that red zone? Am I actually feeling really activated? Maybe I'm angry, maybe I'm agitated, maybe I'm experiencing some panic or anxiety, or I just kind of have a lot of energy left over from a busy day. Or maybe I'm down in that blue zone. Actually, I'm very flat. I'm rather exhausted. I'm not really feeling like I actually want to move. I'm only doing this because I know that it's good for me. Or maybe you're in that nice green zone. And what we want to do, based on where we think that we are on that thermometer, is actually try and choose a video that meets that mood. So it meets that energetic sensation. So if you're up in the red zone, what you want to do is actually try and find something that is relatively energetic, but that will actually help you to down-regulate, to come down into the green zone. So what you don't want to do when you're feeling very agitated is do like an hour of very intense movement, but maybe about 20 minutes or so of something that is quite energetic, particularly if you're using your muscles. So you'd be engaging your proprioceptive systems, which just get you back in touch with muscular engagement as well as orientating around the room. These are just things that give your body cues that it's okay to come out of the stress response. If you're down and you're feeling very flat and very disheartened, actually what you want to do is kind of upregulate. You want to come up into that green zone. So rather than maybe going for a very slow practice like a yin yoga practice, when you're in that state, you might actually want to do something with some gentle, stretchy movements that help you to get a little bit more energy. Now, you can sit in a kind of mixed nervous system state where you feel tired but wired. You feel very agitated inside, but your body is sluggish. In that case, I would say generally choose whichever state feels more prominent to you. So if you're feeling particularly flat and heavy in your body, I would treat that like you're down in that blue zone and you need to upregulate and do some gentle stretchy stuff. And then maybe after about 20 minutes or so, maybe you want to change just doing a very short muscle engagement practice or something like that. So when we're thinking about yoga then, what will help in those different states? So let's say that you're up in the red zone and you want to down regulate. So look for yoga classes that are things like vinyasa flows, particularly ones that say that they're going to include yoga nidra or shavasana at the end. That means that they're going to be relatively energetic, but they are going to end with a long period of relaxation. That's ideal. That's exactly what you want. You want to do some movement, but then you want to be led into a wind down practice so that by the end you're just relaxing, allowing your muscles to relax and switching your mind off, and hopefully that will help you to feel quite a bit calmer. Another technique that you could use if you're looking to down regulate is do more of somatic style practice, and I do have some somatic videos on my channel. So these are more like, rather than yoga, these are more like little movement practices designed specifically to move your body through that energetic state. So things like shaking, jumping, pressing against a wall, a few things like that, and then go into a gentler practice. Maybe look for something like a hatha yoga practice or something like a slow flow. If you're looking to upregulate, as I've already said, I would look at those kind of gentle, soft movements. So things that are focused on things like mobility practices. Anything that says a slow flow is probably going to be quite nice. And maybe also just go for shorter practices. You know, look for a 20-minute or 15-minute rather than trying to do an hour, and see how you feel after you've done just a little bit of movement. Now, there's one exception here, which is yin yoga. And I do have quite a bit of yin yoga on my channel, and I teach yin yoga quite a lot. Yin yoga is probably the best type of yoga to do for long-term management and health of your nervous system. That's because of some very specific factors around yin. First of all, it targets the fascia of the body rather than the muscles. So that means it targets these soft tissues and connective tissues where actually tension from being in these nervous system states really gets held. It's not actually the muscles that get tight, it's the fascia that gets tight. So yin yoga is particularly helpful if you have a lot of aches and pains and a lot of long-term stress or tension issues in your body from this kind of long-term nervous system states. And I would highly recommend yin for that. But it's also wonderful for the autonomic nervous system because it's very still. You hold the poses for anything from a minute and a half up to maybe 5 or 6 minutes. And you do that with an aid of a lot of props. So you're not actively engaging your muscles in yin. Rather, you're bringing yourself into a position where you have a nice gentle stretch. Say it's through the side of the neck here. It's a common area of stress. And maybe you just be gently holding a stretch for 2 minutes or so. And you might be doing that using lots of props, lots of cushions, lots of bolsters, things that make it really easy for you to relax. So it's giving the body a lot of cues that it's safe and it's okay to come out of a stress response and just come back into rest and digest. There's also a lot of forward folds, which are really, really wonderful for the autonomic nervous system as well. So if you were going to start a yoga practice anywhere, I always say like really short yin yoga practices, like 20 minutes are a wonderful thing to start building into your regular schedule. I wouldn't say they're necessarily a great emergency measure if you're feeling very stressed and you're reaching for a yoga video to help you to calm down. Because yin yoga actually, because it's so still, it really brings you into contact with what's going on in your thoughts and your emotions. And I think that's why a lot of people actually don't like yin quite so much, because you can't distract yourself in yin yoga. You can't concentrate on have I got this pose right, or what's the person in the class next to me doing, what time does it say on the clock. You're just there with your thoughts for a couple of minutes, focusing on your breath, focusing on the stretch. It's another reason why it's actually wonderful for stress management, because it really teaches those distress tolerance skills of just sitting with, maybe it's the feeling of being a little bit low and saying it's okay. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel low. It's okay that I'm feeling this at the moment. So if you were looking for a yoga practice just to incorporate into kind of every day, something that will help you to stress manage for the long term, I highly recommend yin yoga. Okay, I hope that this was helpful and will help you to think about how you want to choose your classes and maybe make you feel just a little less overwhelmed by all the choice that's out there. And if you'd like more videos like this, please let me know what questions you have about yoga, about movement and mental health, about stress management or burnout, or the autonomic nervous system, any of these topics in the comments, and I'll be happy to make more videos for you. I'll see you again soon. Thank you.